What's up, locals? Welcome to another edition of the Underground Sounds podcast. Everything music and arts coming from you everywhere in the surrounding area to the Hot Springs 501. And today I have with me my esteemed co-host, fresh on the second episode as captain in the chair.
Yes, sir.
Paris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Happy to be here. You dig?
Hell yeah. That was we had a pretty good one last week with Foreign Rhythm.
Yeah.
And man, I've been listening to like a lot of Foreign Rhythm this week alone, and my kid was listening, and in her room.
Yeah, what's your kid say?
She loves it. She was like, it doesn't sound like anything else that like everybody that like all my friends at school are listening to and stuff.
I agree. My girl said the same exact thing. So yeah, it sounds like as we have a star.
Yeah, well, I told her, I said, pass it around, like spread it like wildfire to 12-year-old girls at school. Jesus Christ, he'll be the next big thing.
This might be the key to blowing up on TikTok.
Well, that's what runs the entertainment industry, man, is teenage girls. And
women just in general. If women are going to be the ones showing up, supporting you more than men.
Exactly, because like if a woman says something's good, then she's like, you can keep doing this. But if you and your friends are doing dumb shit and she comes, she's like, this is dumb, and she shuts it down, well, that's plug pulled.
Facts. Your boy's gonna, maybe not keep it real with you and just support you because they're your boy, but the girl gonna tell you. She gonna tell you if you're good or not. So.
Yeah. And so today, a very special return guest, a very good friend of ours and true Hot Springs local native. We have Mr. Pete Hess with us. How you doing today, Pete?
I'm doing awesome, bro. Good to talk to you.
It's good to hear from you, man. Last time we talked, I believe it was. It could have been, close to a year ago?
It was about a year ago. It was fresh after some stuff. I think I was doing that solo stuff around then, and like Carlton Hesston was breaking up like right around then. I didn't get into it. Yeah, and Ajay and Pari had just put out that album. Totally, it's all coming back.
Well, weren't we talking about Danner Party had just put out an album at that time, but I guess was Carlton Hesston, you guys were like working on one?
No, we were kind of wrapping it up as far as we had not really been a band for like 9 months, and we were kind of still inching our way into like announcing it or talking about it.
Okay. That's a big thing for you, man. I mean, we talked a lot about it year past with Carlton Hesston on the last episode, and hell, even ever since like you've left Arkansas, you've been doing things with them for years, so that's got to be a big impact on you creatively and probably emotionally, and with all the other shit that you've got going on. Why don't you take a second to publicly air out the closet of what is between Carlton Hesston and Mr. Pete Hesston?
No, I don't know.
Mr. Pete Hess.
Nothing in the closet, man. I mean, each of us probably have their own perspective of it, and I can really only give mine. I think this is the first time any of us have talked about it, but on my end personally, it was just the end of. I mean, maybe that last fantasy of like, all right, this is the band, this is going to be, the career maker, and just kind of the long project. And I don't know. It was a good perspective shift when it ended, honestly, because, it's the kind of stuff everybody says about something like that. You think it's the end, and then it leads to a whole bunch of new opportunities and things like that. But on my end, it's a lot more personal, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of those guys, those guys were like my closest friends, and like just having a new bass and like, my relationship getting a lot more close with my girl, and especially the pandemic and everything on top of that, it's just been a time for a lot of growth. And
that's what we were talking about, the last time, is just coming to this, especially like after the pandemic, it had, thrown everybody into this like this new epitome age of like, what am I going to do? Like I can't, whatever I'm doing now and from day to day, it's like you had all that spare time to think, and of course financially you're like, well, what am I going to do that's going to make me happy but also secure for when shit like this happens, and the regular, baggage that comes with growing up and just being a fucking human in general. No matter how like-minded several people are, man, a lot of these different aspects coming in could, be a fucking ripple that turns into a tidal wave.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that, people change, people evolve, and people want different things. And
not me. I've never changed.
Whatever. No, but also, as far as like some of those problems, man, some people get stuck in those kinds of phases, you know what I mean? As far as like substance use, as far as like just like not taking care of yourself, your mental health, and out of that, I started that solo band that we recorded some stuff, about 5-ish songs that I might release sometime, but it was strange, man. I tried to replace Carlton Hesston with that, and it just ended up not really fitting with where I was at in a weird way. And like maybe I was just used to that point to like having other people to bounce ideas off of, and like wasn't ready to like fully take the reins. You know what I mean?
Were you saying you were like Frankensteining some pieces together?
Yeah, it was just like some old material and just some stuff I had always wanted to do, and we played a few gigs that went off like awesome. You know what I mean? It was a great time while I was doing it. But, and like I said, I'll probably still release it, but all in all, my plan was to have something I could gig really like constantly with, like Carlton Hesston did. And I think the biggest realization was that I did not want to do that again. And it turns out that just evenly spacing your life as best as you can actually makes you better at everything, and like just trying to do as much as possible actually makes you kind of suck at everything. It's a weird lesson. But
it is. It's like to not be stagnant, you must always be doing things, and always have like plates in the air spinning. But to have too many, you risk the collapse. So it's this perfect balance of like doing enough but not too much. And it's never perfectly balanced. It's teetered one way or the other, or it is for me.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured that out either.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to those things, like, you don't want to have too much on your plate. You want to be able to give your all into everything. And if you got like 4 or 5, 6 different things going on, well, you give this 10%, that 10%, this 20%, it makes your brand, it diminishes your brand, if anything.
Totally. My dad's got this whole thing about, you get what you really want. And if the short term outweighs the long term, you're going to go for the short term. So you got to really think about what you want. Good advice.
Yeah, that is good advice. Your dad's very wise, wisdomous, insightful man.
Yeah. My dad's a real, I don't even know what the right word would be. There's wise, but he's also pretty cool, He's also... he cares a lot about other people, but introspective. I don't know.
He is pretty cool. Not many white dads have earrings, but yours does. Yeah. And that is a mark of coolness amongst dads.
That's the mark of a 80s dad for sure, 90s dad.
Yeah. Well, so with your solo project, then, what are you trying to accomplish? Because, I always think about that with solo artists, and especially if you had projects or bands and then those fell through, or you didn't have time for those, or you just wanted to do something that was just you. That's one thing, but for you to have so many different stokes in the fire and to have so much going on, what is it about a solo album that is enticing you to be dealt with and handled right now? What are you trying to do or say in a new solo album, or either solo material in general, that doesn't fit with the other projects you have?
I think for the most part, it's just stuff that is on my bucket list. And because, I'm not going to be able to do this forever. And even
what?
Well, I'm just saying, man, even I could record some of this shit when I'm 60 and it won't sound like I'm 30. You know what I'm saying? And to me, there's kind of a ticking clock to some degree. And also, you can lose steam and kind of abandon some projects. So it mostly just comes from material that, I don't really want to take, up on my main focus, but that I just, it's that itch you gotta scratch. You know what I mean? Just that when you're stuck with your thoughts, the thing that's like, you need to do this. Like this fits too well to not pursue.
Absolutely.
You know?
It's not the end of it's not the end of your career. I mean, you think of bands that's broken up like in recent history. I think of like, One Direction, and almost all of those guys went on to have successful solo careers. So it's not like the end of your career. You're branching out. You're able to either try something you weren't able to try before, or just have more creative freedom, or just prove to yourself or to your audience that you could do this without, a band.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to get on that One Direction glow up for sure.
Yeah, you're the next Harry Styles, man. Put on a dress, sing about watermelon, you're fine.
I thought
you're gonna make it.
Wasn't that Robin Thicke, right? Didn't he wear like the Beetlejuice suit that one time? I remember that.
He did, yeah. Him and Miley Cyrus.
That's right.
He wore a Beetlejuice suit, and she wore like a metallic nothing during the Super Bowl, I think, or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Is that when she was twerking?
Yeah,
that was in her twerking phase.
Probably,
yeah. Which coincided with my twerking phase, and we both kind of put that behind us around the same time.
Yeah,
it was a real positive.
Well, you have to move on. You
Miley.
can't stay in the twerking phase.
Nah, I mean your butt just gets tired.
Well, that's why they call it a twerking phase, not a twerking residency.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You can check out.
Speaking of Miley Cyrus, man, I know she's a little bit younger than you, so then like I don't know if you keep up with her, but she's one of those that's like kind of like the voice of our generation, like be my generation, like literally age wise, is we grew up with fucking Hannah Montana, and then into like I'm now a free adult Miley Cyrus, and then to now, dude, she's been doing a lot of work with like she's like the modern day Joan Jett. She's been doing a lot of like classic rock and roll shit, and then did some like old school country shit with Dolly Parton, and she's just doing like this rock and roll fucking like 80s, I don't know, this skit thing she's doing right now, and I'm into it. I dig it.
I'm gonna hit her up for a feature. That sounds right about where I'm at, bro.
Well, lead with the twerking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send Miley
You could
Cyrus a
twerk life,
video
don't
of me
let life
twerking.
twerk you.
Yeah. So, you also mentioned that you wanted to tell us something about a new album or material working from Rattlesnake Diner. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Rattlesnake Diner kind of came out of the end-ish
That's a
of the
new project.
Yeah. It kind of came out of the end of that last solo lineup I had, and it was the same bass player, Gus, who's in that with me, and I had recorded an album for a group called Magic City that ended up having to shelve the album, and I thought I was joining that band just because all they needed was a lead guitar player, and if all I have to do is play guitar, that's like my gig. You know what I mean? I'm used to having to run.
Yeah.
I'm used to having to run shit like and sing stuff, and to just like
Right, exactly.
just do what I'm best at and check and do the damn thing is what I'm all about. And now, I don't know, we've only played a few gigs, but it's popping off. We've been pretty surprised with the return. We're trying to record a single in the coming weeks, and then maybe start in on a full-length album and workshop it, you know what I mean? Take our time with it, refine it.
Hell yeah. What style of music is it?
It's hard to describe like most of the stuff I do, but I'd say this is probably the most like accessible group I've been in. It's if you're familiar with like shoegaze and kind of like older like indie rock and stuff like that, yeah, it's got a lot of those kinds of vibes, but with kind of everything's pretty upbeat. We keep it a little pop sheen on it, you know what I mean? Strong melodies, a lot of like driving bass. But the closest thing to a mainstream project I think I've ever done.
Really? And you're having a lot of fun with that so far?
Totally. It's
So was this an established band already that you came into, or is this something you are all getting together?
No, I mean Magic City, they got kind of a boost whenever they were playing gigs, but then around when the pandemic hit, that really like did them in,
Yeah.
And this was really all this material is Will Hargis's. He's the front man and the rhythm guitar player, and really this is a continuation of his material. And I mean, that's what Magic City was. We actually ended up recording some songs for him, like he did a solo album, and got pretty close doing that. So it was just perfect timing, you know what I mean? Perfect chemistry.
Are there any like specific artists or anything specific in your life inspiring this project?
A lot of post rock, just as far as a genre influence, and they're not a post rock band, but Nothing is one of my favorite bands. It's their real name if anybody's listening and hasn't heard of them. They kick ass, and for a long time I've waited for something to come around like that where I could kind of like play more melodically, not shred as much, and really dig into the emotional side of it a bit more. And on top of that, I mean, I'm not really a minimalist in the group or anything, so I still have like all my favorite lead guitar influences, like, blues and like, just some southern stuff, some psychedelic music.
Pete is a jack of every trade.
That's what it sounds
he
like,
can
man.
Play this and that. And
said he produces, right?
He produces, man. He could fucking flip it over and rub it down. And I'm telling you, this kid can fucking play everything.
I know my way around 3 strings.
Yeah, we've said it before. The first time I ever met him, somebody was like, "You need a guitarist for your band, right? I know somebody. I'll send him into you and have him catch you at work." The next day, this like 10-foot giant angel walks in, and he's like, "Are you Anthony? Because I'm Pete." And I was like, "Holy shit, look at those fingers, dude. You could play 8 guitars."
I remember sending
And
you
he
that
was
audition video in my Grandpa's Catfish t-shirt, because that was where I worked at the time.
Yes.
And just
Oh, yeah,
trying
you
to,
did.
play
Oh,
the
my
heaviest
God.
shit I
Holy
could.
shit.
Yeah.
I remember that now. And he was the answer to all my prayers. Man, I still think about that time that like I found the album, or the song, the one track the other day, Stale Walls, that I came over to your house and recorded at like fucking 3 a.m. See, here's the problem. I found the CD that has somehow made it from move to move and house to house with me, and I still have it. It's pretty scratched up. I don't think it would play on any standard like DVD player or CD player. But if you can put it in a computer and rip it, you may have a better chance of saving it, right? Yeah. Problem is, in 2022, finding a laptop or computer with a fucking disk drive, so I don't have to go buy one externally. That's the problem. But I do love it.
How bad do you want it?
Yeah, I took him, talking about being a producer, I took him a guitar riff that I had, one riff, and was like, it wasn't even a whole fucking measure of anything. It was a piece, and was like, "Hey, I like this. How does this sound?" And he was like, "Oh, well, let's do this." And then we were layering shit. And then he's like, "All right, get in the closet and we're going to sing." We were writing lyrics. And then he's like, "I got this drum track for it." And we came back over and mastered shit again and put together this little, like, just one track in like it was like that day and the next day, but it was essentially just a few hours. Yeah. And I've carried that fucking track with me for years, and I love it. Like, to this day, little parts will get stuck in my head, and I'm like, "What song is that?" And I was like, "Oh shit, it's that one that me and Pete did."
I'm really happy
that creation process reminds me of like masters, like Kanye West type, artists.
Oh yeah.
Just to get it out like that in like what, a few hours.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just shit like that, man. It's just when you get artists and musicians together in a room, something's gonna happen. Yeah. Something's gonna fucking happen.
It took about 10 years for that to come around to something that was like a full-time gig for me. It was like 5 years of making really bad recordings, and then like 5 years of learning how to make good recordings, and then I finally came around. But now I do pretty much the same thing, except I know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. The same thing as that.
Yeah, so now we
got
got
the podcast studio.
So clearly we're overdue to like get the final draft of this demo done. So get this thing ripped. Let's like figure out these arrangements. Let's you know what I'm saying?
I know, right? It's 10
Yeah.
years in the fucking making.
I got the musicians. I got the studio time. Let's do it, baby.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well,
Put out
I've
that
got a
banger.
studio now too. So
What are we doing?
yeah, it's what was that band? The Postal Service. Like we'll just write shit at our house and like send it back and forth.
Yeah. Now, isn't that weird? Isn't that strange that that was a weird, cool thing back then? And like whenever people started like collaborating from afar like that, there's something that's been lost there since, and it's not been totally lost, but I mean a pretty normal way to work on. I mean specifically rap and hip hop. I mean pop as well, but you know tracks where you're like building a song around the vocals, right? It used to be that you'd like record a demo and then get the vocals tracked, and then you'd just edit it in. Then you'd like build your layers, you know, working around the vocals. I mean, that's not how everybody did it, but that was an at least like mainstream technique. And now, because of the internet and because of the ease of communication, there's a lot less like exchange, I feel like, and there's a lot less communication in the process of making some recordings, and like it's there's the benefits are obvious as hell for sure. And I mean especially anybody can get a beat now, anybody can like work with anybody, and that can't be discounted. But at the same time, like, you know, it's a little impersonal. You just like emailing a beat asking if, you know, you want to be on it. You say yeah.
Well, that's
you guys
how,
say, hey, that sounds
that's
good.
actually how
upload it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, speaking from experience, like you could tell us how that works is Paris actually takes samples that he finds. Do you have like people that you work with directly where you're like, hey, I need this or I have this idea, or is it like open source where they're like, you know, as long as you credit us or this or that, then you can claim it?
Oftentimes, because everything is more accessible today than it was back then. Oftentimes, if I work with a producer that's not Mikhail Turtlefro, my bandmate, rap group mate,
your crew.
He produces his own beats, but if I don't get a beat made by him, oftentimes, if a producer wants to work with me, let's say they listen to my music and they're like, I like your style, I want to work with you. That's how I often will work with producers, and they'll send me, they'll be like, what are you looking for? And I say, oh, like for my next project, I'm looking for hyper pop type beats. Yeah. And so they'll send me like 5-6 beats, and you know, I pick the best one.
Okay.
But before I was working with producers, I mean, I'd go on YouTube, find a really dope beat, pay for the, you know, the lease or buy the and nowadays the beat makes the song more than the vocals. I mean, in this day and age, if the beat is like really good, that's all it takes.
Yeah. Well, like you said, like even like some rappers are, you may be going to, instead of having a song where you're trying to find music, you're just looking for a good beat, and you're like, I'll put fucking lyrics in later, you know, and like actually put bars on it. But right now, I'm just trying to find something that like vibes real well.
For me, it's rare to write a song without hearing the beat first.
And I've been in that boat a lot where I've like grown really committed to certain musical ideas, and you know, you find the right, say like you got the right chords and you got lyrics to it and you're just set on it. And then you get together with the rest of the band or whoever else you're working with and you throw it together, and it turns out just the lyrics don't fit, chords don't fit, something, and your like perfect little blend has to be kind of compromised. But it's I just have this like nihilist perspective now, where I'm just like, I don't care. Like none of it's sacred to me. Like the only thing that's meant to be here is the thing that ends up in the final cut. And like, if I have to scrap like whole verses, if I have to like scrap a whole song and take one part of it to make one other song amazing as opposed to just good, it's got to be done. And like, you got to trust your intuition, you know, and be a little reckless. Do what's exciting.
Well, see, Like, I definitely need to adapt more, like a little bit of nihilism, because I hold on to shit forever and I won't let it go because, like I said, that same reason I can't work it into something else, but I feel like it's gold.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting on it because I'm like, I can't rework it. But I'm going to have to start adapting some nihilistic practices, because you're right. Like, in the end, none of it fucking matters. If you can't make this work or that work, then
artistically
scrap what
nihilist.
doesn't.
Like, you don't want to be a nihilist like in real life or as a person. Like those people are idiots.
Yeah.
But artistically,
Yeah, in
hell
general.
yeah, just like let it out. What is it? Well, what's it
Trust
matter?
me,
Go for it.
I already suffer from that slightly, where I'm like, really? Why even create anything? None of it fucking matters. So, like,
Right.
and that puts you in a bad headspace.
Yeah,
Skip that. Put it up. Apply it aggressively and logistically, but not like with hapless abandon.
Nah, I mean with perspective, yeah. And even as far as
exactly.
developing tracks and stuff, I mean, to me those demo moments when you first like lock in the idea, those have grown to be my favorite parts. And I still love tracking. I still love mixing. I love every step of it. But really, whenever you first like lay it down and you can see what it's going to be by the end, even if you can't see it in detail, like that rush that you get is the thing that's going to see you through for the rest of the project, in my experience, And
that's what I love. Like, even with working with art, if I'm doing a commission for somebody, if I lay the base work down and they throw a fit about it and they love it, I'm like, oh, just you wait, because if you like this now, I'm going to have several mental collapses and breakdowns over the next few weeks making this phenomenal, and then you'll see this end product that you are even more amazed with, and I'm like fucking twitching and like brain fried out, and I'm like, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't make art no more, man.
Yeah.
I go through at least one existential crisis per project where I'm convinced I've like fucked it up beyond, redemption. But the cool thing is I've learned to expect it. So while it's happening, I'm like, all right, let's get this over with.
Yeah.
I'll always in those moments just, I got to take a break. I got to walk away, come back a day, 2 days later. Because I get like that too, man, where it's just like, fuck this song, fuck this artwork. I'm done. It's just not working.
Yeah. Well, you get insight and perspective, walk away from something and then give it a thought. And usually when I'm like drawing a piece, at the end of the night, I will screenshot it and send it to myself. And then the whole next day at work, any free time I have, I'm analyzing what I have. And I'm already looking for like, fix this, change this, add this here, and do this. And then when I get home, I like attack it. And then I'm like, I couldn't do that last night, but I had to put some space, give it a break, and then come back to it,
Well, man, I think time is the most valuable thing you got. And it's counterintuitive because a lot of recording and a lot of like making art is based around productivity and about getting it done quickly, right? But you think about it, a lot of the work that you do on artistic projects is not, it's right in front of you. It's like while you're walking around and thinking about it, like you're talking about. And it's those notes that come to you. And the thing is, you can't do that if you get, with some deadlines, you can't do that. And really having the free, that's the coolest thing about being independent is just having the time to like really like sit on it and like let the tracks breathe a little bit and coming back to it with fresh ears and deciding its destiny over time instead of just like making a gamble on what might sound good long term.
Right. Well, with that being said, man, you've got your studio up and running, and apparently you've taken on some new clients and clientele and gotten to work your production hand a lot more.
Yeah, after kind of a break, it all kind of cooled off around winter, and that was okay. We had kind of a hellish year trying to keep our heads above water, and it's this weird thing where like you're super busy, but you have no money for months, and no one told me that's what starting a business is.
Yeah,
and we survived it, but we just. Also had kind of a rough New Year, like everybody else did, I had COVID, some other stuff. finally now the dust has kind of settled, and some people are booking some time again. We just recorded an EP for a group called American Shadows that I've known for about 9 years. Some just solid rock and rollers. They recorded like 5 songs in 8 hours. It was monstrous.
No shit. Fully tracked?
Yeah. They just recorded it live, and like we overdubbed vocals, and I mean they smashed it, man. That's my shit, is when I like don't have to make any suggestions and I just more or less have to keep up and just make it sound good. Like I try to stay out of the way if possible.
Right.
But then there's a pop artist I work with out of Tulsa as well. Her name's Adonia. But her EP should be coming out later this year, like in the fall, but I think we're going to start in on recording some singles soon. It's just some electro pop, some like really make your heart happy, make your booty jiggle kind of music.
Hell yeah.
I'm working on a rap album for a dude out of Tulsa named Hiro Ubi. He's a regular collaborator with my hip hop project, and I didn't do any of the beats or anything. I'm just lending some engineering to it, but it's coming along really slick. And on top of that, just my own stuff, Diner Party, and soon Rattlesnake Diner.
Between working like with all these clienteles of yours, how do you find time for your own personal stuff? Like, do you find that like a struggle, or are you kind of in your schedule?
By having a disappointed girlfriend. No, this is all I do.
Relate.
This is like what I live for, and I mean sometimes. I think recently I've just learned that, like, when I was talking about not spreading yourself too thin, finding the right place to deal with the right thing, and also just being patient and understanding, like, you're just not going to have some days, like, there's going to be days where you really want to be productive and you're just not going to have it, and you are better off coming back to it when you have that fire than just, getting through it and checking all the boxes, With stuff like this, I mean, recording, care really is the most important value you have. If you don't care about it, what are you doing?
I think that's a good lesson for any local artist or any up and coming artist or anybody kind of working towards, one very specific goal, is that, like you said, having the capability of being able to step away and force yourself to take a break. I'm finding that too in all the things that I'm doing throughout the day. Whenever I hit things that need that creative juice flowing and I can tell that it's just not there, and then I start beating myself up and I start feeling like I should be applying myself more, and then you start getting into a negative headspace, and then you're like, well, no, I have to force myself to do this, or else I can't just, you start to say all this bad shit about yourself. Yeah, exactly. Like it crawls in, but then you're still too, and I guess stubborn and hard-headed to be like, let me just give it a break, because you just want to keep attacking it. And then the more, it's like, with the kid, whenever she's trying something new, be it like riding the bike or basketball or even playing Guitar Hero the other night. I was introducing her to that, and she just got so pissed because she hasn't played it in years. So essentially, we would say she's never played it. And then you keep trying and you can't do it, but then she's getting mad. And then I'm like, just take a break. And then she's like, no, I'm going to keep going. And so you have that drive, which you feel like is passion, but it's really just stubborn, because now you're not creating anything, and you're only pushing forward with this negative, clouded, like dredged up headspace. So just learn to take a step back and force yourself to take a break. Like, even if you're like, I'm so in the mood, like in the zone, but I'm not creating anything, like I can't push the focus, but I'm in that zone. Look, man, you got to dial it up. You got to say fuck the zone and just let it go for a little bit.
I've known a lot of drummers that are on take 12 and are like, this next one's it, I know it. And I'm like, that's the adrenaline talking.
Yeah, you're like, it's not it, because
like,
being a drummer is like a marathon runner. You're not going to get the fastest time after you've done it 12 fucking times. You're tired, dude.
Oh, shit. Hey, my phone is dying.
Well, so we lost Pete, unfortunately, and had some
R.I.P. Pete.
had some digital difficulties. So we're
pros and cons of digital.
I'm telling you,
age,
doing things over the airwave. It's like the fucking postal service. So, but thank you for everybody for kicking in with us on this another episode of the Underground Sounds podcast, local for the 501 with my boy Paris. You can go to Instagram and find us at the Underground Sounds podcast. I believe it's Underground Sounds podcast 501.
Correct.
It's super long. That's
really
because
fucking
all
long.
the other ones were taken. So
Yeah.
but you can go on there. You can interact with us. You can suggest other artists that we can get in touch with. You can suggest or use it as a bulletin board. I think I'll do like a weekly bulletin post, and everybody can go in there and comment what's coming up this week as far as new drop releases you may have, new music you may have. If your project or group or band or you solo are playing a show somewhere in the next week or a few weeks and you want to let everybody know, that would be the place to do it.
You can find us on OnlyFans, Sound Underground Sounds Podcast 501.
Well, that one's called Underground Pounds.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Underground Pounds 501.
Nice.
So who do we have? We have a guest for next week, though, just so everybody can kind of get prepared. By the time you hear this, you should have a little bit of time to do your research. Paris, who do we have next week coming in, man?
Next artist goes by the name of Master Key. And I assume that's his name. That's his name on YouTube. Phenomenal artist. I got to meet him for the first time at a show that I did not too long ago with Foreign Rhythm, actually, our previous guest. So, really dope dude. You guys are going to love him, and can't wait to do that one.
For sure, man. Well, do you have anything else you wanted to plug for this episode?
I'm thinking, and we could talk more about this outside of the podcast, but making it easier for people to send, what they got, projects they're working on, shows coming up, stuff like that. I think we should start like a Facebook group or something, which, I kind of got one, but not. It's called Underground. It's called Arkansas Underground Hip Hop, so it's just rap, but we could get one for all genres.
We could do that just for the local.
Something similar. It doesn't even have to be a Facebook.
I'll get
group,
one going. I'll get one going. So stay in touch for the next episode. We will have something up as far as like some kind of collaborative group that a public group everybody can go to, be it Facebook or what have you, and we'll let everybody know the directions to that. That way you can interact easier because, like I said last week, we do plan to start doing weekly releases of just a few minute episodes, basically weekly news announcements of all things art and music and projects that are going on, the cool shit that people are doing. Even, right now we're doing musicians, but if you have any friends or network connections to the film industry, the physical media art industry downtown, which is always thriving in Hot Springs. If you have anything local and art related, bring it to us, and we'd love to talk to you about it. But right now, I think we are rounding in at the end of this episode, and I may go ahead and we'll get that extra clip in from Pete and get a sign out from him. We'll put it on the end of this one.
Yeah, long live Pete, man, my boy Pete.
Long live Pete.
Yeah.
All right, Paris. Have a good one, buddy.
You too, man.
What I was saying is that that Paris came in to the situation because when I worked at Walmart at the beginning of like last year, it was like going to school, like a new school, and Walmart's so big, there's so many employees that you actually felt like it was. Like I said, like school. It wasn't like a little job where it's like you have fucking 4 other employees, And I had one friend, Tony, and then he introduced me to Paris and was like, "Hey, this kid is he's the podcast guy too," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So you do podcasts. We talked about it. We went back and forth, and I checked his out, and he checked mine out, and that was our communication, like every day, like, hey, man, blah, 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 hey, podcast, your show, this show, and then it led to, like, more common conversations, and then it came to be, like, every day I was hunting down Paris and be like, hey, what's up, man, let's talk, and And then we'd start
It's awesome
spitting
when
ideas.
you find somebody to like that it clicks with. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And got close, and everything. And it's just we would discuss like just grind. Like we would discuss talking or like things he was doing to try to push his shit and shit that I was doing, and then frustrations of brick walls you hit, or even social media stuff that's like it seems like everyone will listen to this or that, but they just won't give you 2 seconds to listen to your shit. And then it's like, yeah, but how much do you push? He's real with me. He's like, how much do you push everyone else's stuff? And I'm like, okay, you're right. And I try to, but there's only so much I can. So for the people that do it for me, I have to thank them and not put pressure on the people that
See,
don't.
that's what guys like me and you
say. It's a never-ending fucking circle.
Yeah, that's what guys like you and me say. Like, well, I want to push more. I want to be more involved, but it's just I'm just so busy. It's so tough. And then guys like Paris and like other guys I know are just like, what are you talking about? I've already hit up 10 people today and shared a bunch of posts, listen to other people's shit. Like, I mean, it's effortless for some people, and for others, it's just like, how do I balance this?
The kid is always grinding, man. And it was that. It was like I pushed a little bit of my shit, and then I'd see, but he's pushing so much shit, and he's on every platform and doing videos and YouTubes and trying to get everything up for his, which plug in for him is another motherfucking podcast, which I was surprised was not already taken. And so and so he's even got stickers. I don't even have stickers yet. He's got stickers, and I bought the stickers to support him. So we got close, and he is an artist himself. He's a rapper, and we got him on the pod. I interviewed him, and then same as you, whenever he had some release material coming out, I did another episode with him, and because this was my side thing, and I wanted to put more into it, but I didn't have with all the plates again. It's like I can only do so much with so many, and he and I got to talking, and I was like, you know what, man, I need help with this, and I would like to ask Paris. And I talked to Selah about it. And she was like, I think you should talk to him and just ask him. The best he could say is no. And I was like, you're right. So I asked him, I said, look, man, you're an artist. You know a lot of artists. You have the same passion, the same grind as I do. I want to put more into this show to make it more of a local news network for people to check out, a revolving network for local artists to help each other out, help promote each other, find new things, discover new things, get it out there. And the more people that we get on the show, the more people that
people from Arkansas and Oklahoma. I mean, I know I'm only on because I'm a Hot Springs native and everything, but man, we don't have the promotional tools out here that a lot of bigger cities and bigger areas have, and little things like this really add up and keep it alive.
You were one of the first episodes that we did, or me doing it solo. And that one episode had 41 downloads, man. And I didn't even push it that much. One after that, and that was the first one, every episode has had 35 to 40 views, which is it's self-promoting because they, the people I bring on promote, and it's just good because all those people listen, and then if they want to listen more, they will have more to discover by exactly what we're doing. And it's not like I'm doing anything fucking new that hasn't been done, I'm sure, many other times, but it's just doing it for Hot Springs, or even people from Hot Springs, people around Hot Springs, other locals. So even the artists that you have, I wanted to talk to you, the artists you have that you're working with, feel free to put me in touch with them, and we can even push them out. And so as they're working with you doing stuff, we can work on having an interview with them and promoting them so that more people will go find all the shit they're doing with you and build that kind of a network,
I know a lot of people that would be interested in that, man. I mean, I could totally see you making this regional. I mean, you really care. And it's easy for me.
Don't tell people I care. Now that's putting a lot on me.
Yeah. No. Now, our last talk. I mean, I know that we're both imposter syndrome kings, but you're a king nonetheless, bro.
Stop.
We could really. I'm telling you, you could really push this thing.
Yeah, so I just bring people on to flatter me. So, anyways, I asked Paris. I said, "Man, would you like to co-host full time with me because he brought on another one of his crew and who was putting out some solo stuff and brought him on. And of course I asked him, well, will you sit in? And he's like, yeah. And then so at that point, like I said, once I decided that I wanted to do more with the studio this year, I had really thought, I'll bring Paris in and see if like the artists he knows and then with the people I know, we can switch off every week, you know? And I said, you'll bring an artist one week, I'll bring an artist the next week and so on and so forth. And we can do little side things. And he was like, yeah, I'm definitely into that. And I was super stoked at that point because like I said, his work ethic and his grind and commitment and passion for his art alone and then his podcast. And then he's a new dad. So to even like give me the time of day to entertain doing this with me, and then already the little time that we've spent like collaborating on getting the show up and going, the work that he's put into it has me awe-stricken because the kid's only 24 years old. And there's like it's impressive. So like I said, to give me the time of day to do what he's doing already and then to give it so much thought, it's very endearing to me, man. It's very impressive, and I look up to the kid more than like he doesn't feel like a 24-year-old. Like he looks like I want to be like Paris when I grow up. So I get to do this with him,
that's what a real strong collaboration is. You know, my partner at Hess Recordings, Nathan, he really he takes on some of the engineering with me. I mean, he's at every session. He runs sound at the venue too, but his main focus is the business side of it. And outside of the business side of it, I mean, I'm definitely like a creative slob stereotype. You know what I mean? I have no problem with like working in like a grungy environment with just like, you know, making it happen raw. But
right,
man, when he came on, there was just this efficiency that came with him just because he was used to being a fucking kitchen manager and shit. And his thing was he wanted to take those skills and apply it to something creative. And so for him, it's like, you know, an environment where everything's going crazy and somehow everybody's pulling it together. You know, he actually just started working on some movie sets out here as well. There's been a lot of people shooting in Tulsa because it's pretty cheap too. But yeah, man, just when you find somebody that just like completely picks up for every area where you're lacking, you become fucking unstoppable if y'all learn to trust each other. You know. Yeah.
With that being said, that's why Paris isn't here with us today, because this is the additional piece to finish off the most recent, this current Pete Hess interview, because we got cut off last time. His phone died, which is perfectly fine. But Paris wasn't able to make it back today because he's currently cutting the video for the last interview we had with Foreign Rhythm before you. And so leads into the kid's always fucking working, and I'm thankful for him. And so now you get to finish up with, you know, what your thoughts before, you know, we tapered you off and the call dropped. So welcome back to finish this off, and I appreciate you giving me your time. So that's why
I appreciate you giving me a second chance. That's more than I've gotten from some romantic partners.
I would give you a fifth, an eighth, and a 32nd chance.
Don't do that. That's like as toxic as anything else.
Where we left off last time was right before the call got dropped. We left off on this topic of having insight and a little bit of space between a situation. Saying that, like, you know, when you're writing or whenever you're producing or whenever you're doing anything creative and you have spent too much time with it, you know, it's like, you know, you're focusing on the ink blot and you got to stand back to see the full picture. You have had time because this has been a day or two since we've been able to get together and finish this second part.
Yeah.
And you had time to reflect on a certain subject that you were a little hesitant of the last time that we talked. So now's your opportunity to come back and set things straight in the way that any good gentleman that Pete Hess is, by the means of his father, would
My father's cool
would
as
do
hell.
so.
Yeah.
So what did you want to say, man?
I don't know. I feel like the way I talked about it a few days ago, I kind of beat around the bush. I was a little vague.
It being what?
Well, just talking about the Carlton Hesston breakup specifically, and some of this more recent solo material I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And it works best, really, if I just take it from where I'm at now and work backwards, I think. Right now, I'm working on an acoustic album that'll be out the 21st. I don't know when this is airing, so presumably when it's out, the album will be up on my Bandcamp. I'm going to put together some limited hard copy packages that, frankly...
What's today?
Today...
Okay, so today that you're hearing this now is the 21st of February, and you can go and get Pete's solo project.
Yeah, the album will be called
Solo
As
album.
Lester Ballard. You can find it at bandcamp.petehess.com. Or sorry, petehess.bandcamp.com. I got it backwards. And you can follow me on Instagram, find links there, Pete Hess Music. And I'll also have some limited edition hard copy packages put together, some memorabilia, some handwritten lyrics, some stuff like that. If you end up being
Really?
into
So
it.
you have like a physical package?
Yeah, it's but it's good. It's just warning ahead. It's
Well,
gonna,
no, I guess it's like a digital content you have like handwritten, like took pictures of, or
Yeah. It's handwritten, but it'll be of course copies and a flash drive with the
Yeah.
digital tracks and a CD. But it'll be a burned CD. The label will be Sharpied on. This is meant to be
really.
This is meant to be a pretty raw project.
So talk about why that. Why that's pretty. I mean, especially today, that's very. And it's so funny because retro. At the time that flash drives and CDs would have been the most like popular option, would have been doing it on like a tape.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm trying to keep the overhead low, like they say in the small business game.
It's just so funny that like we already live in a fucking day and age where we lived through it, and now it's already ironically funny and like retro for you to be like, I'm releasing it on a burnt CD. Which kids have no fucking idea. Yeah. They're like, where do you even put a CD in a laptop? They have no idea. And then so it's like, what's a burnt CD? And there's a flash drive with the music on it.
Yeah.
That's very fucking 2004, man.
Very.
2005.
Well, so my concept for this is that, this is kind of my ode to small arts, and particularly, honestly, the kind that comes out of Hot Springs. This is Southern Gothic music, so it's a little different than anything else I've done, but it's just me and an acoustic guitar for the most part. And I mean, man, you remember the Exchange, that venue? I mean, just like
I was literally talking about it the other day.
Yeah, just the kind of bands that used to come through there. And I mean, we all know about DIY and shit, and you can make your own album, you can book your own tour, you can do your own flyer. But the thing is, some people suck at some of that stuff and are still really good musicians and still just do what they do to get their music out and to get those shows booked. And, to me, it's so much more artistically relevant to just put it out and let it have some beautiful warts, really. I mean, like,
let it be found naturally.
Yeah, and like
instead of shoving it in people's face, like links and streaming and do this and go here and just click it and click it and click it. It's like, let somebody stumble upon it, burn it if you have the capability, and put it out there again.
Shit, I hope. I hope somebody
pass it on to somebody.
I hope somebody uploads it to a torrent site and it just takes off.
Yeah.
No, but
just fucking take the files and share them to people. They're like, "What is this?
Yeah.
What do I do with this?"
Yeah, and that's the idea behind the limited hard copies as well. Is like, I mean, I might do like 30 of these. I'm not gonna do much.
Well, it's the 21st right now. By the time you're listening to this, so mine is in the mail on its way.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Of course.
It's not here yet. We would do a review right now, but it's not here yet.
Do a box opening
today.
review like on YouTube, and I'll put something funny in yours. So.
Okay. Okay.
I'll find like a used.
You mean you
condom
already
or
put
something
funny in it, and it's on its way? Okay.
Yeah, there's something funny in yours, and it's not a bomb, and it's on the way.
Okay. Damn it.
But really, the idea to return to the small art side of it comes from the end of Carlton Hesston, and really that band being, it was a little more mainstream than other stuff I've done, and it was also, we had an edge that I really liked, and to me, I've got other things that can fill the more mainstream role in what I'm doing right now. I've got something that really fulfills my songwriting and active gigging that I'd like to do, which is Diner Party. I've got a studio to run. I've got a lot of stuff. And at this point, what I really want to focus on is just putting out stuff that means something to me. And it's not going to be my main output, but anybody that really wants it and really cares about it and that it really resonates with, I hope will keep track of me and find it. What happened with Carlton Hesston was that it just turned into a big party, and it turned into a big toxic mess where a lot of really unbecoming traits lost their ability to be checked. And part of that comes from honestly playing in some places where people do not care about you. They're there to get drunk and hang out with their friends. And
so do you don't think that any of it, did it not stem from the very beginnings of a rise to a fame? Like, it wasn't like people getting big heads and being like, we're just gonna fucking play and party and all this? Or
I'm sure some degree
it just was like, let's play this place because even if nobody shows, we could still get trashed.
I'm sure some degree of it, but man, I mean, I've seen this in a few different fields. There's something about fields where it's mostly male, for one thing, and it's mostly geeky males that kind of finally get their first like taste of popularity or just like affirmation. You know what I mean? I mean, you go your whole life without that and get it like in your mid or early 20s. I think it can open some doors that, you know, you might not have had access to without it, and not all of them are good. I mean, I'm still in touch with, well, you know, Ben's in Diner Party. He was in Carlton Hesston, and I'm still in touch with the other guys a little bit. But, I mean, I think we've all kind of had our own experiences with accepting that we all needed to make some changes, and some of us needed to make them more than others. Some of us are still trying to make them now. You know what I mean? But what it all comes down to is that there are things that are really fast and really fun, and because of that are really unstable. And what I'm happy about now is that, like I said, with everything else on the books right now, having Rattlesnake Diner, having Diner Party, having my hip-hop group, Xeno Genius, having the studio, just lots of work. I mean, I'm where there's no time for me to party anymore. You know what I mean? And honestly, that's been very gratifying to just go into these situations with a clear head, with a real appreciation for time and other people's effort, and just with the intent of like just having a night where there's no trouble. Everybody can just cut loose and have a good time and do what art is there to do.
Right. Well, you know, and there's like with anything else in life, there's a good time to celebrate and to be inclusive, like in the moment, and know like the limits. But if every night is just a huge fucking party, then, you know, it unfortunately, it doesn't work out that way for very long. That's not a sustainable, lifestyle.
The bubble's gonna pop, homie.
Right. Unfortunately.
But yeah, I
name all the great. Never mind. That's a terrible joke.
Nah. And I mean, I just really, I gotta emphasize that, we all have our own perspective as far as what happened, and I mean, I've got the rest of my life to kind of think about that time in my life, and hopefully rest of my life to like have a friendship and a working relationship with those guys. But right now we're all just in a place where we're doing our own thing and wishing each other the best. And that's what it's all about, really.
Dude, Motley Crue got back together. All right? There's hope down the road, Don't worry about it.
I don't know.
I do think that it's brave of you to put a little bit more sentiment and realism into that situation, because I have a full understanding and an appreciation of your stance, and whereas before, like, we kind of just mentioned it and rolled through it, and I understand that, but I feel like that's probably hard for you, like you said, not only as like a piece of this collective that you have to be concerned with what's said where, but that's something real that you, not as an artist but as an individual, have to process and accept, and kind of, no matter how bad you might want to be, like, man, I would, the easy thing is to really just fuck off every night and not really take a lot of things seriously, or not put myself in the position to stretch myself to all these other projects and try to gain ground and go somewhere. But for you to have to be the one that steps away and says, like, I'm going to kind of take a little bit of a different route, that's probably really hard for you, man. And I commend you for, being able to take those steps, because those are the hard ones that not everybody can do. And that's one of those cliche fucking road less traveled things. But, I mean, that's exactly what it is, man.
No, but it exists for a reason. And I appreciate you saying it, man. It has been hard. The main thing is that with a group like that, nobody's really a bad person so much as everybody has a double-edged sword that gives them the ability to either be an exceptional musician or be an exceptional performer or be an exceptional songwriter, whatever, or some combination of it. Like, every single person that's really good at something creative typically has some deficiency somewhere else. I don't know why that is, but it just happens that way. And
mine is in discipline.
Yeah. But totally.
Severely.
Yeah.
Extremely creative, terrible at holding myself to a fucking task.
Yeah. And that's, man, when it's when one side is much sharper than the other, or becomes much sharper than the other, and it's not the good side that problems happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that, like, I heard one of my favorite producers recently say that, he really thinks that anybody that wants to give their life to art has some kind of hole in them. And, like, every single person that, like, really goes after it is somebody that, like, nothing else will fill that hole. And that, we don't do this to, like, I mean, sure, we do it for fans or, like, to touch people's lives, but, we do it because we're hurting. And I think it's a little narrow.
I mean, think about it. That's an extremely profound. See, and this is why I love, we talked about earlier, I love sitting and talking philosophy with you, and I could do an entire different podcast on just, pick up with Pete. And see, that's a great title, trademarked, and by VVNC Studios, is because, man, you're right. Like, no matter what form of art it is, be it written, spoken, sung, applied, physical, film, whatever it is, there is a hole, because when have you ever written a song and said, okay, I'm done? Whenever I ever created a piece of art, as an artist, and like done, pieces and stuff, and I finish a commission, or I do a cool work of art, and then I go, all right, well, I'm done. I've had my fill. When does a sculptor just, like that thing, even podcasting as an art, the art of conversation, the art of, of improvising topical conversation, things like this, and producing things in the art of the work that goes into it. You never stop, because the hole's never filled, and the hole isn't the art that's being filled. There's a hole there of something else that makes you an artist, and you're using the art to fill it. But just like that hole, you're never satisfied when it's done because there's something missing in that person. And I think that's an extremely profound way of saying that.
Well, it's like having a mental affliction and not having the right medication for it.
Exactly.
Well, I'm gonna give you this.
It's way out of hand.
I'm gonna give you this, just in the spirit of again, two guys with some of the biggest imposter syndrome pants that we could possibly fit into, both of us, and any listeners that deal with that sort of thing. At New Year's, Gabby and I were trying to think of some kind of New Year's fun thing to do since we weren't going to go out and party. I had COVID around then, so we both stayed home. And what she decided to do was we should just make a list of every accomplishment of that year. And I mean, not just career-wise, but just anything you really did that you felt proud of in the moment. And I mean, off the top of your head, what comes to mind is like 5 or 10 things. You're like, all right, yeah, I did a few cool things, but really just put some time into like reflecting on it, and you'll surprise yourself how many times you did something or concluded something that you're really proud of yourself for. And
I need to remember that because at the end of the year, I want to be able to write it on a notebook and not a sticky note.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I did mine in crayon and put it on the fridge so I can look at it every day when I'm feeling bummed out. But
yeah. I started to write mine, and then I got fucking distracted and didn't finish it. So
yeah. Yeah.
So this is our comedy platform now.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of comedy, that baseball banter shit is hilarious, man.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. So are you a regular listener, or you just drop in, drop out, or?
I drop in and drop out. It's are you familiar with Cumtown, that podcast?
So everybody that does the banter besides me are avid fucking listeners of Cumtown, and
that's so funny.
That's where like their inspiration to do it came from.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, and you guys are definitely a different show, but it definitely gives me a lot of
in the same vein.
In the same vein, for sure. In the same way as that, like, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has
we are better
vibes
produced.
To, like, Trailer Park Boys or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we are better produced because we do have like an actual intro and outro.
yeah. But no, man, I think it's awesome.
What has it done? It hasn't made us any better. I put in all the work. I put in all the work that I do all the production, nothing. They just fucking hit record. They get ads all day. Like,
yeah,
fucking
they get ads
downloads.
they get ads that they barely read or like barely get through. Nah, man, we got to do some kind of like Danner Party crossover, man. That's our like band practice humor in a nutshell. And that's what I love about listening is that that's really my kind of humor and the kind that.
Well, man, I'd really like for you to make a trip down and come hang out in the studio and drink with us a little bit and record an episode and come get in on it. I'll give you
that'd be a fucking blast, man. I'm down all the time to visit family.
Yeah, as I said, I got a free banner shirt in it for you.
Done. We will custom print Danner Banter crossover shirts just for the occasion.
I do like that. That's something I can look back at the end of the year on the notebook and be like, we accomplished Danner Banter.
No, I'm saying.
So we'll wrap this up because nobody wants to hear this shit. They do want to hear the details about Danner Banter, which you will find on Instagram at Baseball Banner Podcast, and by listening to the Baseball Banner Podcast on all platforms, produced by VVNC and what's that called? The shameless self-promotion.
Yeah, and today, February 21st, not February 18th, you can find more information about my acoustic album that has just come out on my Instagram or at petehess.bandcamp.com. You can follow the Danner Party at just Danner Party on Instagram or find us online. We will have more details about our album soon. And you can find Rattlesnake Diner on Instagram. We use these platforms because Facebook fucking sucks, and nobody sees anything you post unless you pay for it, and nobody has time for that garbage. So
I don't have Facebook for any of the platforms.
yeah,
for any of them.
I want to say fuck Zuckerberg, but he owns Instagram too, so I don't know. But
well, Pete, I really appreciate you taking the time to call back in, man, and always give me the good spills on everything in the Tulsa entertainment industry right now, and everything that's going on with you, man. I could chat with you forever, and I'll do it if the listeners, if they'll tell us. They're like, hey, talk to Pete privately more or bring Pete on more. And then next thing you know, I'm announcing a third co-host, Mr. Pete Hess.
Please, I have dogs to feed. If you're listening to this, I need another paying gig or my life will fall apart.
Oh, okay. So there's a mistake. This doesn't pay. So
I'm really sorry if that piques the fuck out of
This is
the
classified
audio.
as volunteer work that you do not get any college credit for.
Oh, it's like being in a band.
Exactly. Yeah. Same thing. So you're very familiar with it. Pete, man, I really appreciate you, again, giving me the time. And for all the locals in the 501 area and in the Tulsa area, and for everybody keeping up with the Underground Sounds podcast, we thank you. And remember to support your local arts of all sorts. Thank you.
All right.
This production is brought to you by Vapor Valley Noise Cult.